Jake Morrison walked through the hallways of Washington Central High School with his head held high. He was 17 years old, tall, athletic, and popular. Everyone knew him. Teachers liked him because he got good grades. Other students liked him because he was funny and confident. The girls thought he was handsome. The boys wanted to be his friend. Life was easy for Jake, and he knew it. It was a cold morning in November when Grace Kim walked into the school. She was a new student, a transfer from somewhere nobody had heard of. She had black hair that fell straight down her back and dark eyes that seemed to look at everything and nothing at the same time. When she walked, she moved in a way that was strange to watch. Her steps were precise and careful, like each movement was planned and measured. Nothing about her seemed relaxed or natural. Jake first noticed her in the lunchroom. She sat alone at a table by the window, eating her food slowly and looking out at the parking lot. She did not talk to anyone. She did not look at her phone. She just sat there, eating her food and staring at nothing. The other kids whispered about her. "Who is that?" asked Kyle, one of Jake's best friends. "Nobody knows," said Marcus, another friend. "She transferred from somewhere weird. My sister says she is really quiet in her classes. Does not talk to anyone. Does not smile." Jake looked at Grace from across the room. She was pretty in her own way, but there was something wrong about her. Something that made him uncomfortable when he looked at her. She was too still, too quiet, too different. "She looks like a robot," Kyle said, and the other boys laughed. Jake did not laugh at first. He just kept watching her. Then a smile started to form on his face. She did look like a robot. A pretty robot, but a robot. An idea started to form in his head, and he liked the idea very much. In his history class in the afternoon, Jake found that Grace was sitting 2 seats in front of him. The teacher was Mr. Bradley, who always let students talk and discuss ideas. Today, they were learning about different cultures around the world. Mr. Bradley was talking about how people from different countries and places had different ways of doing things, different ways of talking, and different ways of thinking about the world. Jake raised his hand. "Mr. Bradley, can I ask a question?" he said. "Of course, Jake," Mr. Bradley said. "What is it?" "I am wondering something," Jake said, and now he was smiling. "Some people from other places seem really strange to us. Like, they move different. They talk different. They act different. Is that normal? Or is that just weird?" Grace did not turn around. She did not move at all. Mr. Bradley nodded. "That is a great question, Jake. Yes, people from different places often seem strange to us because we are not used to their ways. But strange just means different, not bad. Different can be good." Jake was not satisfied with this answer. He wanted to push more. He wanted to see if Grace would turn around. He wanted to see if she would say anything. But what if someone moved here and tried to act normal, but they still seemed weird? Jake asked. Like, what if no matter how hard they tried, they would never fit in because they came from somewhere too different? This time, Grace turned. She turned slowly and looked at Jake. Her eyes were dark and empty. She looked at him for a long time without blinking. Then she turned back around and looked at the front of the classroom again. The other students had noticed the exchange. Some of them were trying not to laugh. Jake felt good. He had gotten a reaction. That meant his plan was working. When the class ended and the bell rang, Grace stood up and walked toward the door. Jake stood up too. He walked quickly and positioned himself between Grace and the door. He was taller than her, bigger than her, and stronger. He blocked her way on purpose. "Hey, you know what?" Jake said, and his voice was loud enough that other students could hear him. "I just want to know something. Why do you act like you are better than everyone? Why don't you sit with normal people at lunch? Why do you act so weird all the time?" Grace looked at him. She did not seem scared. She did not seem angry. She just looked at him like he was a problem she needed to solve. "I am different," Grace said. Her voice was quiet and calm. "That is not the same as being better. Please move." But Jake did not move. He was enjoying this moment. His friends were watching from across the room. They were waiting to see what would happen. "Okay, but seriously," Jake continued, "why don't you try to be normal? Why don't you sit with people and make friends? Why do you act like you are from another planet or something?" "I would prefer not to answer more questions," Grace said. Her eyes looked at him, and for just a second, Jake felt something cold run down his spine. But he pushed the feeling away. He was bigger. He was stronger. He was popular. She was just some weird transfer student. "Come on," Jake said. He smiled a big smile, trying to make his friends laugh. "Loosen up a little bit. You are scaring everyone. Maybe you should go back to wherever you came from if you cannot act normal here." Grace was quiet for a moment. She was very still. Then she spoke. "You should move now," she said. Not a question. Not a request. A statement, or what? Jake asked. He thought he was being clever. He thought he was being funny. He did not understand what was about to happen. Mr. Bradley was now walking toward them. He could see there was a problem starting to happen. "Jake, you need to move aside," Mr. Bradley said. "Grace, you can go." "Jake, please move." But Jake did not move right away. He stood there for one more second, looking at Grace, still smiling like this was all a game. Grace stood there, looking back at him. For just a moment, her face changed. For just a moment, something that was not a normal high school student looked out from her eyes. Something that was older. Something that was harder. Something that had seen things that no 17-year-old girl should ever see. Then her hand moved. Everything happened so fast that nobody could really explain what they saw later. Jake felt the world spin. He felt pain in places he did not know could hurt. His feet left the ground. The floor came up at him very fast. Then everything went black. When Jake woke up, he was lying on the floor of the history classroom. There were people standing around him. Mr. Bradley was on his phone, calling for help. Some students were staring. Grace was sitting calmly at her desk, waiting. Jake tried to move, but his body did not work right. Something was very wrong. His chest felt like it was on fire. His arm would not move. His vision was blurry. He had challenged the Deathworld girl, and now he was broken. The ambulance arrived at Washington Central High School in less than 8 minutes. By that time, Jake had not moved. He lay on the floor of the history classroom where he had fallen. His friends watched as the paramedics came in with their equipment and their practiced movements. They put Jake on a stretcher and carefully moved him into the ambulance. The whole school was talking about what had happened. Students whispered in the hallways. Teachers stopped and looked at each other with worried faces. Nobody understood exactly what they had seen. Some said they saw Grace hit Jake. Some said they saw Jake fall for no reason at all. Some said they did not see anything because everything happened too fast. Grace sat in the principal's office without saying much. She had not run away. She had not cried. She had not tried to hide what happened. She just sat in the hard plastic chair and waited for the questions to start. Principal Henderson came in and sat down across from her. He was a big man with gray hair and a tired face. He had been a principal for 22 years, and he thought he had seen everything. But he was confused about this situation. "Grace, I need you to tell me what happened in Mr. Bradley's classroom," he said. Grace looked at him with empty eyes. He was blocking the door. He was being aggressive. I moved to get past him. He was hurt. That is what happened. But did you hit him? The principal asked. No, Grace said. I did not hit him. I moved past him. Did you push him? Grace was quiet for a moment. I moved him so I could go through the door. He was hurt when he landed. I did not mean for him to be hurt so much. The principal rubbed his face. This did not make sense to him. The security camera had been pointed at the door, and the principal had watched the video. It looked like Grace had barely touched Jake. There was no punch. There was no wrestling. There was just a small movement from Grace, and then Jake was on the ground. By that time, the police had arrived at the school. They took statements from students and teachers. They watched the security video many times. They took pictures. They collected evidence. But the video did not show much. It was too fast. Grace's movement was so quick and so small that the camera barely caught it. Jake's parents arrived at Seattle General Hospital at 6 in the evening. They ran to the emergency room asking for their son. They found him in a hospital bed with doctors examining him. Jake was awake but in pain. His left arm was bent in a way that arms should not bend. His chest was wrapped in bandages. His face was bruised. The doctor, a woman named Dr. Sarah Morrison, explained the situation to Jake's parents. Your son has several broken ribs, she said. His left shoulder is dislocated. He has fractures in his left arm in 2 places. He also has bruising around his organs that we are watching very carefully. This pattern of injury is unusual. It is almost as if someone knew exactly where to apply pressure to cause maximum damage with minimum effort. Who did this? Jake's mother asked, her voice shaking. Who attacked our son? Jake opened his eyes and looked at his parents. He did not want to answer the question. Was it another student? His father asked. Jake closed his eyes again. He did not answer right away. Jake's mother touched his shoulder carefully. Baby, you need to tell us what happened. A girl, Jake said quietly. From school. A new student. The police came to the hospital to take Jake's statement. They sat by his bed with notebooks and serious faces. Jake told them about the confrontation. He told them about blocking the door. He told them about the jokes he made and the things he said. By the end of his statement, even the police officers understood that Jake had started the problem. Did you touch her first? One of the officers asked. Jake did not answer right away. He knew the answer. He had blocked the door. He had done more than just stand there. He had made sure she could not leave without pushing past him. Not like that, Jake said. I was just in her way. I did not mean to hurt her or anything. I was just being funny. The officer made a note. It sounds like self-defense to us, based on what you are telling us. Back at the school, more police came to question Grace. They had her in a small room with the principal and a school counselor. They asked her the same questions they had asked Jake. He was blocking the exit, Grace said. He was being aggressive. He was saying mean things. I needed to leave the classroom. I moved to get past him. He was hurt when he fell. That is the truth. The police asked to search her backpack and her locker. They found nothing unusual. No weapons. No signs of violence. Just books and school supplies. Where are you from, Grace? One of the officers asked. Seattle, Grace said. My family moved here last year. Before Seattle? Grace did not answer right away. My father got a job here. We came from very far away. That night, Jake's parents stood outside his hospital room. They talked to each other in low voices while their son slept inside. Who is this girl? Jake's mother asked. What kind of girl can hurt someone like this? I do not know, his father said. But the police say it looks like self-defense. Jake was being aggressive. He was blocking her way. Jake's mother did not feel better. Her son was in a hospital bed, broken and hurt. It did not matter who was at fault. What mattered was that someone had damaged her child. The next morning, the school counselor, a woman named Mrs. Williams, came to the hospital to visit Jake. She brought papers with her. Jake was surprised to see her. "How are you feeling?" Mrs. Williams asked. "Like I was hit by a car," Jake said. "What is she? Some kind of fighter? Where did she come from?" Mrs. Williams sat down in the chair next to Jake's bed. "That is what I came to talk to you about. Grace's family is special, Jake. They are part of a special program. Her parents came to the United States from somewhere very different. Somewhere very hard." "Like what?" Jake asked. "Like another country?" "Not exactly," Mrs. Williams said. "Grace's family came from a place where the conditions are very extreme. The gravity is stronger. The weather is worse. The animals are more dangerous. It is called a Deathworld. The people who are born there are different from us, Jake. They are stronger. They are faster. They have reflexes that we do not have. They have to be, because where they come from, one mistake means death." Jake stared at Mrs. Williams. He did not understand what she was saying at first. Then understanding started to come. "So she is like superhuman?" Jake asked. "Not superhuman," Mrs. Williams said. "Just adapted to a world that would kill normal humans very quickly. She did not mean to hurt you so badly, Jake. She was just moving to get past you. But on her world, when you do something, you do it with perfect control and precision, because you have to. One wrong movement means everything." Jake looked down at his broken arm. He thought about how fast everything had happened. He thought about how he could not even see what she had done. He had challenged the Deathworld girl, and she had barely fought back at all. That thought terrified him more than anything else. Jake spent 5 days in Seattle General Hospital. The doctors did surgery on his shoulder to fix the dislocation. They wrapped his broken ribs and set his broken arm in a cast. They gave him pain medicine that made him sleep, and when he woke up, the pain was still there, but softer, like he was feeling it from far away. His mother stayed with him the whole time. She sat in the chair next to his bed and read books or looked at her phone. She did not go to work. She just stayed there and waited for her son to get better. Sometimes she would cry quietly when she thought Jake was asleep, but he was always awake. He always heard her. His father came every evening after work. He brought flowers that he put in a vase on the windowsill. He brought food from restaurants that Jake liked. He sat in silence with his son and looked worried. Sometimes he asked Jake questions about what happened, but mostly he just sat there. Jake could tell that his father was struggling with something. He was struggling with the fact that his son had done something wrong and been punished for it in a way that seemed too harsh. On the second day, a woman came to visit Jake. She was not a doctor or a nurse. She was a police detective named Detective Maria Santos. She was small but strong-looking, and she had sharp eyes that noticed everything. "Hello, Jake," she said. "How are you feeling?" "Like I got hit by a car," Jake said again. This seemed to be the only way he could describe how he felt. Detective Santos sat down. "I am investigating what happened in your history classroom. I have watched the security video many times. I have talked to your teacher. I have talked to many students who were in the classroom. Now I want to talk to you again with your parents here about exactly what happened." Jake told her the whole story again. He told her about the jokes. He told her about blocking the door. He told her about the mean things he said. By the time he finished, Detective Santos had made many notes. "Jake, I want to ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly," she said. "Did you touch Grace before she moved?" Jake did not want to answer this question. He knew what the answer was. He knew it would make him look bad. "I blocked the door," Jake said, "so she could not leave." "Did you push her with your hands?" Detective Santos asked. "No," Jake said. "I just stood in the way. Did you touch her at all?" Jake was quiet. Then he said, She had to move past me to leave. So yeah, maybe I was close enough that our shoulders could have touched. But I did not push her. Detective Santos made another note. Based on what I have found out, I believe what happened was self-defense. Grace was being blocked from leaving a classroom. You were being aggressive toward her. She moved to get past you. Unfortunately, she hurt you worse than she meant to. But there is no crime here, Jake. You started the situation and she ended it. But why did it hurt so much? Jake asked. She barely touched me. That is the important question, Detective Santos said. And the answer is that Grace is not like other people. Her body is stronger. Her reflexes are faster. When she moves with perfect control and precision. She probably did not use much force at all. But when you have strength and control like that, even a little force can cause a lot of damage. After Detective Santos left, Jake's parents sat with him. His mother looked sad. His father looked angry. What is she? His father asked. What kind of person does something like this? She is just a person, Jake said quietly. Just from somewhere different. On the fourth day, a man came to visit Jake. The man introduced himself as Dr. Robert Kim, and he said he was Grace's father. Jake was surprised and confused. He did not know why Grace's father would come to visit the boy he had. Heard that Dr. Kim was a tall man with gray in his hair and tired eyes. He sat down in the visitor's chair and looked at Jake for a long time before speaking. I want to tell you something about my daughter, Dr. Kim said. I want you to understand where she comes from and why she is the way she is. Is she a cyborg? Jake asked. Or genetically modified or something? Dr. Kim shook his head. No, she is just a human. But she is a human from a different world. A very different world. Have you heard of Kepler 442? Jake shook his head. It is a colony world, Dr. Kim said. A place where humans were sent to settle because Earth was becoming too crowded. But the planet we chose was very harsh. The gravity is much stronger than Earth. The air is thicker. The temperature changes from very hot to very cold. And the animals on that world, they are designed to live in that harsh environment. They are very dangerous. Many times more dangerous than anything on Earth. Dr. Kim stood up and walked to the window. He looked out at Seattle for a moment. When humans were born on Kepler 442, their bodies adapted. They became stronger. They became faster. Their bones became denser. Their muscles became more efficient. But that was not the only thing. Their minds changed too. They became more careful, more precise. Because on Kepler 442, one mistake, one slow reaction, one moment of carelessness, and you die. You die very quickly. Dr. Kim turned back to look at Jake. My daughter was born on Kepler 442. She lived there for 14 years. She learned to live in a world that would kill anyone from Earth in minutes. She learned to move with perfect control because that is what she needed to do to survive. Then we came to Earth, and we put her in your high school. We put her in a world where everyone is soft, where everyone makes mistakes, where everyone is careless. And then you blocked her path and threatened her. You do not understand what that feels like from her perspective. Did she try to kill me? Jake asked. No, Dr. Kim said. If she had tried to kill you, you would be dead. She was showing you that you could not win. She was showing you that what you were doing was wrong. She did this in the gentlest way she could, and it still hurt you very badly. That is how much stronger she is than you. Jake thought about this for a long time. Is she going to get in trouble? Jake asked. No, Dr. Kim said. The police have cleared her of any wrongdoing. But the school has made the situation difficult. Many students are afraid of her now. Many teachers are watching her carefully. She's become something to fear instead of something to understand. And that is sad, because she is a good person. She did not want to hurt you. She just wanted to go to class. After Dr. Kim left, Jake lay in his hospital bed and thought about Grace. He thought about a world that was so hard and so dangerous that being born there changed what you were. He thought about moving to a soft world where nobody understood you. He thought about standing alone at lunch while other students whispered about you. He thought about how he had made things worse. When Jake was released from the hospital on the 5th day, he was still in pain. His arm was in a cast. His ribs were wrapped. He had to move slowly and carefully. His mother drove him home, and he went straight to his room and lay in bed. For the first time, he thought about apologizing to Grace, but he did not know if she would want to hear from him. He did not know if she would ever forgive him for what he had done. It took Jake 3 weeks before he returned to school. His arm was still in a cast. His ribs still hurt when he moved. But the cast was supposed to stay on for 6 weeks more, and he could not stay home forever. His mother drove him to Washington Central High School on a cold Monday morning in December. Walking through the hallways felt different now. Students stared at Jake. They whispered. They pointed at his cast. But they also looked away when he looked at them. Something had changed. Jake was no longer the popular kid who made fun of people. He was the guy who challenged the Deathworld girl and lost. His friends tried to act normal around him, but it was awkward. Kyle and Marcus wanted to know everything that had happened. They wanted to see his injuries. They wanted him to tell them stories about the hospital. Jake answered their questions, but kept the answers short. He did not want to talk about it. In the lunchroom, Jake saw Grace sitting alone at her table by the window. She was always alone now. Students had heard the story about what she was, something not quite human, something dangerous, something that came from another world. Nobody wanted to sit with her. Nobody wanted to be near her. She had become a ghost, moving through the school without touching anything or anyone. Jake watched her eat lunch by herself. He watched her look out the window at the parking lot. He thought about what her father had told him. He thought about a world that was so hard that it changed what you were. He thought about being sent to a soft world where nobody understood you, and then being mocked as dangerous because you were too strong. Grace did not look at Jake. She never looked at anyone anymore. She just existed in the spaces where other people were not. After lunch, Jake went to study hall. The study hall was a big room with tables and chairs, and a librarian who made sure students stayed quiet. Jake sat at a table near the window. He pretended to work on his homework, but he was really just sitting there, thinking about whether he should try to talk to Grace. He waited until near the end of study hall. Then he saw Grace come in. She walked to a small table in the back corner of the room, near the bookshelves. She always sat there. She opened her book and started to read. She did not notice Jake watching her. Jake stood up. His ribs hurt a little when he moved, but the pain was manageable now. He walked slowly to the back of the room. He stood in front of Grace's table. He just stood there for a moment, waiting for her to look up. It took her a long time to notice him. When she finally looked up from her book, her eyes were empty and cold. There was nothing in her face that said she was happy to see him. There was nothing in her face that said anything at all. "Can I sit down?" Jake asked. Grace did not say anything. She just looked at him. Jake sat down anyway. He pulled out a chair and sat across from her at her table. Up close, he could see that she looked different. She looked tired. The skin under her eyes was darker. She looked like she had not been sleeping well. "I want to say something," Jake said, "and I want you to listen, even if you do not want to hear it." Grace turned a page in her book. She did not look at Jake, but she did not get up and leave either. "I was mean to you," Jake said. "I made fun of you. I blocked the door so you could not leave. I said mean things to make my friends laugh. That was wrong. It was really wrong. And I am sorry. Grace did not move. She did not say anything. I also did not understand who you were, Jake continued. I did not know where you came from. I did not know that you were from a different world. I did not know how hard that world is. I did not know that everything I was doing was actually dangerous to you in a weird way. And I did not know that when you moved me, you were actually showing me mercy. Because if you had not shown mercy, I would probably be dead. Grace turned another page in her book. I talked to your father, Jake said. He told me about Kepler 442. He told me about the gravity and the weather and the dangerous animals. He told me that people from there are different because they have to be different to survive. And I think that is amazing. I think you are amazing. And I think it is awful that everyone at this school is treating you like you are a monster. Because you are not a monster. You just saved my life by showing mercy, and I repaid you by being mean. Grace finally looked at Jake. Her dark eyes looked into his face for a long moment. Thank you, she said. Her voice was very quiet. I do not think you should thank me, Jake said. I am the one who should be thanking you. You could have hurt me worse. You could have killed me, but you did not. You just moved me out of the way. I moved too hard, Grace said. I did not mean to break your bones. On my world, if you push someone, they push back much harder. I was trying to move you, but I did not think about the fact that your bones are different. Your body is more fragile. You did not know, Jake said. And I did know better than to block your way. So this is my fault, not yours. For the first time since Jake had arrived at her table, Grace's mouth moved. It was not quite a smile, but it was close. It was like she was trying to smile but had forgotten how. Would you like to sit here again? Grace asked. Tomorrow, in study hall? Yes, Jake said. I would like that very much. Over the next few weeks, Jake and Grace started to become friends. It was not a normal friendship. Grace was still quiet and careful about every movement. Jake was still recovering from his injuries and could not do very much. But they started to talk. Jake asked Grace about Kepler 442. He asked her what it was like to live on a world where danger was always present. He asked her why her family had come to Earth. He asked her what the hardest part of being on Earth was. Grace answered his questions. She told him about the red sun that was dimmer than Earth's sun. She told him about the constant wind that never stopped blowing. She told him about the animals that were fast and hungry and could kill a human in seconds. She told him about learning to move with perfect control so that you did not make a mistake that would cost you your life. Everything here is so easy, Grace told Jake one day. People here can make mistakes and still live. People here can be careless and still survive. On my world, you cannot be careless, ever. One moment of not paying attention and you die. So I cannot relax here, even though everyone tells me to relax. My body does not know how to relax. My mind does not know how to relax. Is that why you are always alone? Jake asked. Yes, Grace said. When I am near other people, I have to be careful. I have to think about every movement. I have to make sure I do not hurt anyone. On my world, this is normal. Everyone moves this way. But here, it makes people afraid. They see me being careful, and they think I am dangerous. They think I am not like them. And they are right. I am not like them. But that does not make me a threat. Jake listened to her talk, and he started to understand. Grace was not a monster. She was just someone who had been built by a harsh world to be strong and careful. And that strength and care made people afraid. I will be your friend, Jake said. Even if other people are afraid. I will be your friend, and maybe other people will see that you are not dangerous. Maybe they will understand that you are just different, not bad. Grace looked at Jake for a long time. Then she nodded her head, once a small movement. "Thank you," she said. "That would be good." From that day forward, Jake and Grace were never alone at school. Jake sat with her at lunch. He walked beside her in the hallways. He was with her in study hall. And slowly, very slowly, other students started to see her differently. They saw that Jake trusted her. They saw that Jake was not afraid. And gradually, their fear started to change into curiosity. Grace was still quiet. Grace was still careful. But she was not alone anymore, and that made all the difference. By the time spring came to Seattle, Grace had changed. Not her face or her body or the way she moved. Those things were still the same. But something inside her was different. She smiled sometimes now. Not big smiles, but real smiles. She talked more in classes. She participated in discussions. She was still quiet, but she was no longer silent. Jake's cast had been off for 2 months now. His arm was weak, and he was still doing physical therapy to make it stronger. His ribs did not hurt anymore unless he did something foolish. He had gotten most of his strength back, but his doctor said he needed to be careful for a few more months. He did not care about his injuries anymore. All he cared about was spending time with Grace. They had started spending time together outside of school. Jake would go to Grace's house on weekends. It was a normal house on a normal street, but inside, it was different. Grace's parents had brought things from Kepler 442. They had strange plants that grew in high-gravity soil. They had pictures on the walls of the red sun and the dark forests where the dangerous animals lived. They had videos that they played sometimes, showing what the world looked like. Jake watched these videos and tried to imagine what it would be like to live on a world like that. Grace's mother made food that was different from Earth food. It was spicier and heavier. Grace said the food on Kepler 442 had to be more nutrient-dense because people's bodies needed more fuel. Jake tried to eat what Grace's mother made, but he could only eat small amounts. The food was too rich for his Earth stomach. "You are like a baby," Grace said, watching Jake struggle with her mother's cooking. And for the first time since he had met her, she laughed. It was a quiet laugh, but it was real. One afternoon, Grace's father asked Jake to sit with him in the living room. Dr. Kim had a serious look on his face, like he wanted to talk about something important. "Jake, I want to thank you," Dr. Kim said. "When I came to the hospital, I wanted to help you understand what happened. I wanted you to understand who my daughter is. But I did not think you would become her friend. I did not think you would care enough to try to understand her world. Why would I not?" Jake asked. "She showed me mercy when she did not have to. And everyone here was treating her like she was a monster. Someone needed to stand up for her." "Yes," Dr. Kim said. "But you also showed courage. It takes courage to be friends with someone when everyone else is afraid of them. It takes courage to stand up to social pressure and choose what is right instead of what is easy." Grace and Jake spent more and more time together. They went to movies. They went to restaurants. They studied together for tests. Jake taught Grace about Earth things that she did not understand. Grace taught Jake about discipline and focus and how to move through life with purpose in the school's track and field program. Grace's coach had asked her to run. Coach Williams did not know about Kepler 442. He just saw a girl who moved with perfect form and incredible efficiency. Grace ran the 400-meter sprint, and she ran it faster than any other girl in the school's history. She did not run too hard. She could have run much faster. But she ran hard enough to be the best, and she did it with the same careful precision she used for everything else. Jake went to watch her run. He stood in the bleachers and watched Grace move around the track. She was beautiful when she ran. She was powerful. She was strong. But she was also controlled. She was not showing off her strength. She was showing the minimum amount of strength that she needed to win. She was hiding how much more powerful she really was. The other students started to talk about Grace differently. They talked about how fast she was. They talked about how strong she was. They wanted to be on teams with her. They wanted to be friends with her. The fear had not completely disappeared, but it had changed into something else. Fear had become respect. By the time May came around, and the school year was almost over, Grace was no longer the isolated transfer student. She had friends. She had people who talked to her in the hallways. She had people who sat with her at lunch. She was still quiet, but she was not alone. One day, Jake's English teacher, Mr. Patterson, assigned a personal essay. The assignment was to write about a moment that changed the way you think about something. Jake knew immediately what he wanted to write about. He spent the whole weekend working on the essay. He wrote about the day he blocked the door. He wrote about the incident in the classroom. He wrote about the hospital and the police and learning who Grace was. He wrote about how he had been wrong. He wrote about how strength without understanding was dangerous, but curiosity without fear could change everything. He wrote, Grace came from a world that would kill most of us without hesitation. She chose to show restraint with someone who did not deserve it. That is when I learned what true power really means. True power is not about how much damage you can do. True power is about choosing not to do damage even when you could. True power is about showing mercy to someone who did not show you mercy. Mr. Patterson gave Jake an A on the essay. He also asked Jake if he could read it to the class. Jake was nervous about this, but Grace said he should do it. So on a Thursday morning, Jake stood in front of his English class and read his essay out loud. When he finished, the class was quiet for a moment. Then they started to clap. They clapped for Jake for writing something honest and true. But Grace knew that they were also clapping for her. They were acknowledging that she was different, and that being different was not a bad thing. After class, Grace waited for Jake in the hallway. When he came out of the classroom, she was standing there. She was holding a small piece of paper. I wrote something too, she said. For your eyes only, not for the class. Jake opened the paper and read. When I came to Earth, I thought I was the only one who was broken. I thought my strength made me wrong. I thought my careful way of moving made me a monster. But you showed me that being different is not the same as being wrong. You showed me that strength can be used to protect, not to hurt. You showed me that I can belong here, even though I am from somewhere else. You became my first real friend on Earth. Thank you. Grace did not sign the paper. She did not need to. Jake knew who it was from Dot in the final month of school. Grace's family invited Jake to their home for a special dinner. They were going to show him videos of Kepler 442 and tell him stories about where they came from. It was like they were officially welcoming him into their world, even though his world was very different. As the school year ended and summer began, Jake and Grace made plans to spend the summer together. Grace was going to teach Jake about living on Kepler to 442. Jake was going to teach Grace about being human on Earth. They were going to learn from each other and grow. Together, the boy who had challenged the Deathworld girl in class had learned the most important lesson of his life. He had learned that strength was not about how much power you had. It was about what you chose to do with that power. He had learned that mercy was more powerful than force. He had learned that understanding was stronger than fear. And he had learned all of this from a girl who had come from a world that would have killed him in seconds, but who had chosen instead to show him kindness on the last day of school. Jake stood with Grace by the lockers. Other students walked past them, and some of them said, "Hello." They were no longer afraid. They had learned that Grace was not a threat. She was just someone who was strong and careful and came from somewhere very different. "Next year will be better," Jake said to Grace. "Now that people know you, now that they understand you, everything will be easier." Grace shook her head. "I do not think I want easier," she said. "I think I prefer this. People knowing who I am. People respecting what I am. Easier is not always better." Jake nodded. She was right. The world was not supposed to be easy. The world was supposed to challenge you and make you grow. Grace had learned that on a harsh world far away. And now Jake was learning it here, on Earth, from her. They walked out of the school together as the final bell rang. Summer was starting. A new chapter was beginning. And for the first time since she had arrived on Earth, Grace Kim was not walking alone. And that made everything better.